Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very accomplished professional from the finance world, Mr. Neeraj Saxena. Neeraj, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Atan, Ashutosh, for having me here.
Thank you. Neeraj is the founder and managing partner of X-Scale Accelerator. He is associated with NGOs that work in the area of child education, and he's an angel investor. So, Neeraj, let's first talk about X-Scale Accelerator. Tell me about this venture and what was your motivation to start it?
Absolutely. Thanks, Ashutosh. So, Xscale is a startup accelerator, as you already mentioned, right? The prime focus of this accelerator is to drive sales and to take Indian startups international. And I tell you the reason why we picked these areas. A part of this comes from my background. I worked in leading corporates for more than 20 years, and then I was leading their, the strategy and sales operations, etc. So that's my background, right? At the same time, I was investing and being a board advisor for some of the startups, right? So when we were doing that during that journey, one thing we figured out that in India we have some amazing technical talent. The guys are making amazing technical products, right? That can far outclass the world. But as Indians, that my personal belief. Someone can disagree, but we are not born sellers. Unlike to our Western counterparts, right? So they are making great products, but they have, struggling to sell those products, right? And then that's why we realize that there is a gap, right? Second is, we don't have, or most of the startup founders don't have connects outside India. So even if they have a great product, they struggle to take it outside of India. So hence we decided to start Xscale. The idea is to really create the world-class startups out of the India, and then by focusing on sales and then by giving them the opportunity to expand in the international market. So that's the idea.
Very interesting. So you say that Xscale is a mission to recast India's image of an exporter of talent.
Yeah.
First, tell me what, in your perception, is India's image, and what are you wanting to change it to? And give me an example of what you may have done with some companies.
No, absolutely. So I give you an example, means just to prove my point, right? So I am an avid traveler, not only from my job side, otherwise also I'm a very avid traveler. I traveled, on my personal on more than 30 countries, right? And I have a habit to interact with a lot of locals, etc. This is just I do, to expand my horizon, right? So when you go outside and others can do this experiment for themselves. Try to meet a stranger in a foreign country who's not deeply associated with India in any way through the direct business. Ask them, do they know any of the great Indian corporate leaders? And the answers will come very easily. Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, Shantanu Narayan, Ajay Banga, so and so forth, right? Arvind Krishna. Normally you'll get very easily answers, right? Then just ask another question. Tell me some of the great companies of India. Trust me, half of the time you just draw blank. Other times they mumble some things like a Tata, which is not actually, Tata is not even a company. Tata is just a brand, right? Right. So point is that, so that's my point, right? So we are always been an exporter of the talent to the world, right? Look at the NASA, look at the Google, look at the Microsoft or the Apple or the Amazons of the world. You find a large portion of engineers or the workers or even the management guys are Indians, right? But then we are not there on the global map when it comes to the companies, right? And hence, I say our mission is to recast the image of India as a exporter of the talent to the creator of the world-class companies. So that's what I mean. And then since you spoke about an example, right? So we are obviously, we ourselves are new. Xscale founded in 2021. So stars are in the making. But I just take a very specific example to demonstrate my point that what kind of work companies we work with, etc. Right? So we have a company in our accelerator program called SecureWeave, right? Amazing founders, completely technical background, more than 20 years, all of them, right? And then what they are creating is a hypervisor or a hardware virtualization based network security. I know it's a bit technical, but it's just to give an idea. They are first in India.
Mhm.
They are only one of the 5 in the world who are working on this, right? So truly, a futuristic technology. Our idea is, and then just to give an idea, so they are the first one on the RISC processor side. So literally, they have the potential to dominate this space, right? The only thing is they really don't know how to expand, how to go to the market, how to obviously look the international markets, right? And our vision with them is to create them, in among place them among the top 3 companies in the world in years to come,
Mhm.
right? And then we are on paths there. A POC has been signed with, agreement has been signed with
Mm.
IIT Madras. They are doing POCs. So we are building towards that. So that's our vision. That's the kind of the companies we work with, just to give an idea. And then that's what the kind of vision we keep for those companies, to really place them among the top in the world, rather than just be a local players.
Fascinating. So, there are so many accelerators that are there. I mean, the IITs have their own, the
Yeah,
IIMs have their own. There are private accelerators like yourselves.
True.
What makes Xscale different?
Absolutely fantastic question, right? So I have also been an advisor in my past journey with multiple accelerators, right? So
Mhm.
Xscale, I would say, is truly, and not because I am running Xscale,
Mhm.
I'm saying that, but really it is literally one of its kind in India, not only in India but globally.
Mhm.
And I give you a few things why I say so, right? The first thing is that most of the accelerator work in cohort mode,
Mhm.
right? Means they take 10, 15 startups. In some take, like Y Combinator's of the world, which is the
Mhm.
largest accelerator, right? They take hundreds of startups in cohorts, and then
Yeah.
try to run with them, right?
Mhm.
We don't have a model of cohorts to start with, right? We think every startup needs their own personal attention, right? So there are personal attention given by mentors, or dedicated mentors work with them.
Mhm.
We work with only 12 to 15 startups a year. All right. Unlike the others, as I said, the 50 to 300 startups a year, right? So very, very focused, right?
Mhm.
All of our mentors are kind of MDs, CXO of
Mhm.
leading companies or the unicorns, right? Very, very senior mentor profile, right? 50% of them are placed outside of India. So
Mhm.
help our vision of expanding Indian startups global, right? That is that's another thing. And the final thing is, mentors put their personal capital in the startups they mentor
Mhm.
to ensure the skin in the game,
Mhm.
which is not there in any of the accelerator across the world. And at least I am not aware of any such accelerator, right?
Mhm.
Which mandates that, right? So very high skin in the game, very deep focus, and very seasoned mentor profiles.
Mhm.
That what makes
Mhm.
completely different than other accelerators.
Very interesting. And you just mentioned that you started Xscale in 2020,
2021 itself.
2021.
Yeah.
What have been some of your initial challenges as you're building out this venture?
Okay, so so there's a twist in the story. There are not many challenges,
Mhm.
honestly. Means so it turned out to be, I would say, the response, etc., either from a startup side or
Mhm.
mentor side or investor side, has been overwhelming to say.
Mhm.
If you ask me today, what is my biggest challenge today is the bandwidth.
Mhm.
So we are unable to cope up with what we are getting. The amount of applications we are getting, and then trying to we are trying to build a team. At the same time, we are trying to cater to the incoming volumes, etc.
Mhm.
So if you ask me, that's the biggest challenge right now, which is a
Okay.
good problem to have, if you
Correct.
really ask me, right? But the learning, I tell you what, the learning is, and then because when we started Xscale, right,
Mhm.
even before that, as I said, I've been advisor, right? I used to advise a model to my mentee, right? And this model is, always look for, whenever you look for the area of opportunity, of area where you want to start up, right?
Mhm.
Look for 3 things, right? And the opportunity lies in the intersection of these 3. And these 3 things are: number one, do you have the passion for the idea, right? You can live with this idea even with very less or no money, etc., for many, many years, not the
Mhm.
months. So do you
Mhm.
have the passion for the idea? Number two, do you have the skills to execute the idea,
Mhm.
right? Number three, is there a market demand for it, or is there someone ready to pay for this,
Mhm.
right? If you try to find opportunity in the intersection of these things, your chances of success will grow exponentially.
Mhm.
and possibly at X scale. While doing this, we did this analysis for ourselves.
Mm.
And the answer was astounding yes, based on our experiences, skills, and whatever we have, and
Mhm.
then the passion for the cause.
Mhm.
And possibly that demonstrated in the results we got, or the early success we got.
Mm. Very interesting. My next question to you is that what is the process you follow to accept a startup into your accelerator?
Sure. So process is fairly simple and very transparent to say. One can go to our website, which is xscaleglobal.com, and apply. There's an application form there. They can fill and apply, right? All the application, we very clearly say, we look for three things. First is the idea should have a very high potential to scale, right? So that's the first thing we look for. Number two, we look for that, the founders have the technical and the functional skills to execute the idea. The distribution or the sales skill we can fulfill from our side because we come from that side, right? But they need to have technical and functional skills. That is whatever it takes to create a product, they need to have this, right? And third, the product has to be minimum ready. Ideally, they should be in early revenue stages because our focus is towards the scaling of a company or the scaling of a startup. So these are the three things we look for. As a check mark, and then obviously we interact with founders, in a couple of rounds before taking a startup.
Sure. And are there any sectors that you focus on, or it could be pretty much any kind of startup?
It can be any kind of a startup. So we are sector agnostic accelerator.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's move on and talk about startups.
Sure.
You have worked with startups. You've built businesses. Now you are supporting startups.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a few questions that relate to startups. And my first question to you is that what is the advantage of a solo founder versus co-founder or co-founders?
Got it. No, great question, I think. So look, ultimately having a partner in a startup journey, let me talk about the pros of it. There are many actually. First is having a partner gives you number one, it provides a division of labor as I say, that you can work on multiple things in parallel. So one founder is focusing on product, other can focus on the sales side, right? Or even that there are a lot of administrative, regulatory, and contractual things. So there are too many things to take care of, right? Facing them solo is a bit of overwhelming when to start with, right? So having a co-founder is helpful in that way. Second is you can brainstorm your ideas. That's the second big advantage. And third is, which I would think is very, very critical, there are inevitably you will hit the rough patches where you feel really low, or you feel like, should I quit now? Having two there in the journey makes you stand that rough patch far more easily, I would say, compared to when you're solo and then you end up giving up, and then we have seen with the founders like, so these cases, right? So these are the clear advantages of having a co-founder. We always say that, it is always great to have a co-founder in the journey.
Wonderful. And again, based on so much of your experience, what, according to you, are some of the basic mistakes a lot of startup founders make?
Sure. So one of them, again, specific to India context, I'm saying a lot of founders focus too much of building the product and then not focusing on sales in the early days, right? They think when the product is completely ready, and then, I completely is in quotes, that, that they think when it's completely ready, we'll go and hit the market. It doesn't work that, right? It's the consumers who decide what they want in the product eventually, right? You may do whatever analysis you do before launching the product, but the real test of a product is when rubber hits the road. When you go and start selling, you got a lot of feedback, you have to refine your product multiple times, right? So selling is a process, right, which helps you do so early on. Now, a lot of founders tell me that, look, our product is not ready. If we go and invest money in sales, that means we are wasting money in a way, right? And I tell them like this, right? Consider this is putting a water in a leaky bucket, right? The intent is not to fill the bucket, but intent is to find where the leaks are. Because till the time you put the water there, you don't know where the leaks are, right? So point is, unless until you are reaching out to customer from the very early on, you will not know what you are missing in the product, and then you build a complete product, and then you hit the customer and they say, oh no, this is not what we want, and you have to change 50% of your product, which is very which is very costly affair compared to try to get the feedback by spending some money on sales and then trying to sell the product. We call it a smoke test also, that there is no real product even, and then you go to customer and ask, will you buy it at $10 if this product is ready, right? And not telling him the product is not ready. If the customer says yes, it means there's an astounding affirmative action on the what you are doing, right? So those kind of smoke tests they should do from very early on to yeah.
And now relating the founders to Xscale, what should founders look for before they choose an accelerator?
Got it. So I think founders should look for any every startup is their own journey, right? And then there are obviously multiple incubators, accelerators. Everyone is fulfilling a need or a gap, right? So founders should first assess what are their gaps are. So for example, there are 3 critical skills for any company to become successful, right? Especially on the early stages, which is functional, technical, and the distribution. Distribution is the sales, marketing, or taking the product to the market, right? 4th comes slightly later on, which is the operational efficiencies, etc., right? But not in the very early on stage. The first 3, these 3 are the skills that are required from literally day one, right? So founders should look within the team, the core founding team or the early employees. Do we have these 3 skills completely with us, right? So if I don't have a skill on technical side, I'll choose an accelerator or an incubator, which fulfills that gap. If I have a skill gap on a distribution side, I'll choose an accelerator which has fulfilling the need of the distribution side, right? So choose number 1 on your need.
Right.
Second is, what is the stage of your startup, right? That means, if you are a very early idea stage, possibly incubator at IIT or IIM is a very good option, I would say, right? Because they can help you refine their idea, in a multiple ways. You can take your time, right? Versus if you are a late stage, you are MVP, post MVP startup, right? You need a more focused accelerator that helps more towards on the revenue side, etc., right? Again, the things like cohort or non-cohort. Cohort is great if you are again an early stage. No harm in going in a cohort-based thing. But again, if you are a later stage, then cohort may not work for you. One last thing they can look for is that what is the core competency of the incubator accelerator. So whatever they are promising, look very closely, study about the founding team. That have they really done that ever in the past, right? For themselves or somebody else, right? So only check after checking their credentials, right? Enroll for any incubator, any accelerator. So those are some of the key things. You can look for. One last thing is that are they putting their own capital or not? So if an accelerator or incubator putting their own capital, that brings a lot of skin in the game, and then that can also be a test that you can check.
Okay, and if it's not confidential, what are the financial arrangements with an accelerator?
So most of the accelerator or incubator, this is not confidential at all. So most of the accelerator incubator work on the model of advisory equity model. So they take a small amount of advisory equity, and whenever they put a capital, obviously they take equity for that capital, right? So that's a simple model. So always an advisory equity involved in all of the accelerator,
which is fair. There's no cash outflow for the startup.
No, there is no cash outflow at all.
That's a fantastic thing. And I've got time for one more question.
Absolutely.
And my question to you comes on the point of scaling up. Every startup I speak to, their only aim is how do I take it pan-India, or how do I become global?
Yeah.
And I've often told them, I said that if you're living in the city of Delhi, which is, or the national capital region, which is 25 million people, it is as big as or bigger than most countries.
Yeah, true.
So what is the need to go pan-India?
Yeah.
I'd love to get your perspective on when should a startup start scaling up?
Yeah, absolutely. What you just said is super valid. Means again, we say the same thing that we meet a startup. We want to start in this product has appeal in 100 cities, all the tier 1 and tier 2 cities. We want to start with 100, and we need $1 million, to pump in, right? And then I said, have you tested with one city, by the way, right? 100 comes, after one. So first is Not even one. I mean, the startups we are working with, especially the B2C ones I'm talking about, right? We are telling them don't even go to entire city. Delhi is too big for you.
Correct.
Mumbai or Hyderabad or Bangalore is too big as a city themselves. They are, as you rightly said. So Delhi and Mumbai are bigger. The population-wise, they're bigger than entire ANZ, entire Australia, New Zealand, all combined, right? So need not to go for entire. You need to pick a pocket within the city, which is where your target consumers are, right? Like, let's say you are targeting a product for a student community. You need not to do a digital marketing running even across Delhi. You can do some pamphlet-based marketing in the North Campus of the Delhi, literally, and then going and talking to the consumers yourself, being a pamphlet distributor by yourself, and then you will get the real feedback. Pilot that product within a very small community. When the product market fit is achieved, a scale is achieved, right? That kind of a scale within a community. Then start expanding of that also gradually, very, very gradually, right? So that's our advice for a startup. So you need to achieve a product market fit, completely before expanding.
Very interesting. Neeraj, on that note, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for taking me through your amazing thoughts for your xScale accelerator. Thank you for what you're wanting to do for so many startups, taking them global. And I'm sure I'll be looking out for many, many unicorns coming out of xScale. And thank you for all the comments you made about startups. Thank you again, and good luck.
Thanks, Atan Ashutosh. Thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.